We just celebrated our anniversary this week, and we wanted to share with you guys a really practical story of what it looks like trying to follow your dreams and also listening to the leading of the Lord.
I'm just going to tell you how I got to marry up.
Welcome to Celebration State, where we help Christian creatives to grow in their creativity and in their love for God as well. This week we celebrated our 85th anniversary, and we don't look a day over 50, y'all. No, but we did celebrate our anniversary this week, and so we wanted to, in honor of that, share with you our story of how we became a thing, because it's a pretty good story, you guys. It's not everybody's story, it's a pretty unique story, but in our story, you got love, you got creative pursuits, you've got the hand of God, and it does get a little messy because it also has my testimony in it, and some testimonies are a little messy, but God is so good and his hand is just so evident in this story, so we wanted to share it with you.
So the story starts with me way back in high school, a long time ago. So I was in a committed relationship with a girl in high school, and we were both pursuing Jesus at the same time. We were at church together, we were in the worship team together, and we seemed to be going after Christ together. And that was the goal, that was the plan, that was the relationship. And about 2 years or so into this relationship, I had a dream. And in dreams, you just have context, right? You just know what's going on. And for some reason, I knew in this dream that I was with someone, and it wasn't my girlfriend. In fact, it was a beautiful woman who had brown hair, beautiful eyes, a long, elegant neck, and it was kind of just this image up right here, right? And I just knew that I was with her. I was in a relationship with her. I don't know if I was married or something, but it was a tight-knit relationship that I just knew I was in. Well, I wake up from this dream in a cold sweat, feeling nauseous and sick and guilty, almost like I somehow cheated on my girlfriend or something like that. And I remember that came up in my mind and in my soul, and I felt horrible. And I said, "Get behind me, Satan. I curse you. Forget this dream. This is pulling me away from faithfulness." And it was pretty extreme, and I was just fighting against this thing. Well, we fast forward another year later into this, and I am pursuing my music in my best way possible. I'm in a band, I'm having fun with my brother and my friends, and we're playing a show. And my girlfriend at the time was running our merch booth. So I remember walking from soundcheck toward my merch booth, and my girlfriend at the time, that same girlfriend, was there. And as I'm walking to her, I have this vision of the same girl in my dream. Clearly that's not a comfortable situation for me, and I do everything I can to mask that and to, act normal and natural as one can in that situation. And again, I had this feeling, this knowing that I was with this girl, and I just knew it, and it was crazy. Well, we continued our relationship for a bit longer, another year almost actually, and then things broke off. We ended that relationship, and at that point in time, I moved off to Nashville, in the Nashville area in Tennessee, to pursue my musical career. The band was doing pretty well. We were going out and trying, most of our tours were starting in Nashville area anyway, and I had nothing to stick around back here in California, so I took off and I went and I moved there for a while. And I remember playing shows, doing tours, playing for festivals and things like that, and having this heavy burden on me to go back to California and go to college. It's crazy. I love academics, I love learning, I love growing, and I love music. And the crazy thing is that there was a college behind my house in the Nashville area. I could have jumped the fence and been on campus. For whatever reason, I prayerfully considered this. I pursued God with all my heart, and I really wanted to do what he had for me. And what that looked like was leaving the band, this thing that was gaining traction and moving forward, what I thought was my career in music and creativity. And I felt called to go back to California. And we want to know, if you've ever had a situation like that where you're pursuing something, you're running after something in a dream, and you feel kind of sideswiped by God, where he's just like, "Hey, I'm leading you this way now, I'm redirecting you," let us know down below. We want to connect on that. We want to hear what your life is like and what you have to say, and share your ideas and thoughts and reflections with the people in the community. So after this prayerful consideration, I felt led to move back to California, and I did. I moved back to California, and I went to a college that was known for music, because music was kind of my thing. That's what I was excited about. So I went there to pursue music, and that's where I ended up, out back here in California.
So that's how Joshua's story starts off, but my story is a little bit different because when I was 14, I had been raised in a Christian denomination, But at that age, I decided that I wanted to become an atheist. And that began the darkest period of my life, just a time of emptiness and sadness, just darkness. That's how I would describe it. And just there were emotional problems that I encountered at that time, like depression and anger. And there were also times when I just made really bad relational decisions with my family or in other relationships with other people. So it was during that time that I began to become an agnostic. And during that time, I was a lot more open to things of religion. I wasn't so hard and fast as an atheist, like this sort of angry atheist that I was personally. And during that time, I started wanting to get back to my childhood. Something about that just felt like light. So I remember during that time, I had this memory of being a child during family reunions when we would all get together and we would sing hymns about God. And there was something about that time. I didn't know the language for saying Holy Spirit was there. And when we were just singing, his presence was there, and it just lightened our hearts and our souls. I didn't know about that. All I knew was that I just felt like it was light. It was something I wanted that was good, that I wanted to get back to. And so as an agnostic, I ended up joining a church choir, and which is pretty funny, but they didn't ask me, if I believed. They just asked me if I could sing. And so there I was, just totally fish out of water there. But what was amazing is that the words of the songs, they really did minister to me because I was searching for truth. I was searching for God. And so I would take the books home and just read the words and say, isn't this amazing how it says God's our shepherd and he takes care of us? That's so cool. And I ended up at that time, I did consider myself a Christian, and it was at this time that I got into a relationship with someone who said that they were a Christian as well. I ended up moving up north to pursue that relationship, and then I was really sad to find out that he was not so much of a Christian and had bad intentions toward me, and so that ended up just really sad and really horrible for me. And so after I had moved up north and that failed, I moved back down south, which was where I was born and raised in Southern California. And I went back to the college that I'd gone to before, and that happened to be the same college that Joshua had gone to.
So my story picks up back at college. I move across the country, I go to college, and while I'm pursuing this music thing, I tell God, I am just focused on school and work. I don't want to do any extracurriculars. I don't want to do anything else. I don't want to be busy. I'm already busy enough. And God put it on my heart to join a club. And of course, I said, well, fine, I'll join the club that you want me to join, but I'm not doing anything. I am not taking any responsibilities. I'm just a member. So that didn't work out either. I ended up being a chairman for a number of events. And one of the events was really important to me because it was the day I met you. I met Jenn on October 7th. And I was chairing this event. And I remember sitting down at the school on a Saturday. Who goes to school on Saturday? And I'm running an event for a fundraiser. And my advisor comes over and introduces me to an elegant, beautiful, brown-haired woman who is the girl from my dreams. I have an audible, jaw-dropping, wow. And I see Jenn. And that is how I met the woman that would become my wife.
And I was a baby Christian at this point. That would be putting it lightly. I was a bit of a hot mess, and I had a lot of growing to do. But what a blessing, fortunate for us, that Joshua had the inside track of these visions that God had given him so that he knew it was okay that I was where I was at that point, and he could be patient with me as I was growing with the Lord. Because even though I had all of this kind of yucky stuff still on me, I was still pursuing God as best I knew how, and I ended up getting involved with a church that really discipled me, and I just started growing and exploding with the Lord, and so it was just amazing. And so both of us really, if we hadn't been pursuing the Lord at this point, we never would have received this blessing, this promise, and we just would have missed it. Joshua would have stayed in Tennessee trying to pursue music. Who knows where I would have been if I hadn't been pursuing the Lord. I wouldn't have been ready for a relationship with this wonderful, amazing man here. And things would just be so much different. So God had these amazing things for us, but it took us listening, pausing and correcting our trajectory to be able to receive all of the blessings that God had for us.
Yeah, and just a side note, my story is super weird. Our story is super weird and unusual. And honestly, God was like, wow, here's how you don't screw this up, Joshua. I'm going to not give you one dream about who this is, but I'm also going to give you a vision about who you're supposed to marry, so you can get this right. Now I realize God doesn't do that for everybody, because everybody's probably not as thick-skulled as I am. But at least he's good, and he's faithful to talk to you and communicate to you and express this information to you. However, if God does give you the inside track, like we had, and I had an insight on the woman I was going to marry, I want you to know I did not tell Jen that information before we got married. It's super creepy and weird when you're like, God told me that you're supposed to marry me, so we're gonna get married, and you've never met her before. That's weird. And it's also weird if the girl does it to the guy. Just say no. Don't do that. It puts a lot of pressure on someone and it manipulates the situation. It's not healthy, it's not appropriate. So don't do that. In fact, when we got engaged, I just told her that there's some important, heavy information that I needed to tell her later about our relationship. In hindsight, that was pretty bold of you just to be like, oh, okay, sure. Like, because I didn't tell her what it was. I just said it was important.
But the truth is that if it really is from God, you don't have to force it.
So yeah, there'll be something comfortable and peaceful about it. So you don't have to force anything, and I don't want to ramble on this too long. But basically, just go with what God's telling you to do. When it came to the information that God gave me about Jen, I held it in my heart, kind of like Mary does when she hears words about Jesus, or how Jacob does when Joseph comes to him about these dreams and these insights about God and the future and things like that. They just hold it in their heart and wait. And that's what I did for Jen. I didn't want to rush anything or force anything. I knew what I needed to know, and I walked out what God showed me. And that's how we came to be what we are.
And let us know down in the comments, do any of you have that kind of situation where God drew you together with someone? And it could be romantic or just a friendship or a mentorship. There are those special stories, and those are so neat to hear about. So we would love for you to tell us about them if you have them. And what's amazing is that after Joshua decided to listen to the call of God and leave pursuing music in Nashville and come to a place that he didn't even really want to go, now God's brought it all full circle to where we're pursuing music together, and we're just seeing what God's going to do with all these dreams that we have. So we have our Celebration State band. We're doing more projects with that, more worship, more acoustic sort of projects. Then we have the Great Union Band, where we're doing our blues, soul, rock projects, and we have more things coming up on that soon. So we're really excited about all of that. Please subscribe and turn on the notifications if you guys want to hear about those creative adventures. We want to take you with us on them. We can't wait to tell you guys about everything that God's doing. And also, please like this video if you want to support this channel. That's like YouTube gold right now, is to like the videos. That really helps us out a lot. So thanks so much for watching, you guys. We really appreciate it. Be so blessed.
So I remember walking from...
Yep.